You usually expect building a globally recognized brand to feel like constructing a skyscraper.
Right, like laying down concrete.
Exactly. You pour the concrete, you lay the foundation, and you spend years, maybe decades, honestly acquiring customers.
It's that traditional model of corporate gravity, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, and eventually business analysts look at it and say, there it is, 30 years of sweat equity, brick by brick. You expect this really long, grueling timeline before anyone takes you seriously.
Because we assume legitimacy requires history,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like if you don't have a heritage, you just don't have trust.
Right. But step into the modern landscape of digital streetwear and social media branding, and that entire construction timeline just vanishes.
Oh, totally.
You're suddenly looking at a brand building environment that operates completely outside the laws of corporate physics.
Yeah, it's an environment where reality is, it's entirely manufactured.
It really is. And we've compiled a massive stack of sources for you today on this deep dive.
We've got UK business registry data, detailed brand analysis documents.
Yep. Plus, live website product drops, and even these background dossiers on key brand ambassadors. Because our mission today is to tear down exactly how this manufacturing process works.
And we're looking at a super fascinating case study for this. A streetwear company called Vivir.
Right, Vivir. And we want to unpack how a brand that is essentially a newborn manages to manufacture massive credibility, like real social capital.
Projecting the footprint of a global titan.
Exactly. While
Yep.
spending literally 0 dimes on traditional advertising campaigns.
Which is wild.
It's like watching an illusionist. But the genius of this specific magic trick isn't that they're hiding the truth in the shadows. The trick is that they put the illusion right in front of your face.
Under bright lights.
Yes, under the brightest lights, until the illusion literally becomes the truth.
Well, to understand the mechanics of that illusion, you really have to understand the specific ecosystem it's designed for.
Okay, let's set the table then.
Because this strategy, I mean, it wouldn't have worked 10 years ago. We're observing this really volatile intersection of drop culture, the absolute dominance of user-generated content, and this very specific phenomenon of football meets fashion culture.
Right.
And those aren't just, marketing buzzwords. They're the fundamental psychological levers that young consumers use to assign value to, well, a piece of fabric today.
I want to trace this back to the origin point, actually, because the timeline here is the absolute crux of the mystery.
Oh, for sure. The dates are everything.
So I pulled the official UK government company's house data. This is the public register, so there's no hiding here. Vivir Clothing Ltd. was incorporated in September 2025.
Right, September 2025. So we are talking about an enterprise that is incredibly young.
Barely has a history to speak of. It's registered in Kent, England. The owner on the paperwork is Maxwell Fried, operating under company number 1673461.
So on paper, it's a fully legitimate registered corporate entity.
Yeah, but from a consumer psychology standpoint, launching a brand that new is like walking onto a battlefield with 0 armor.
It's the inherent risk of newness. I mean, think about the friction you feel when you encounter a completely unknown brand on your feed.
Oh, I immediately think it's a scam.
Exactly. Your brain runs a threat assessment.
Yeah.
Is this a scam? If I put my credit card in, will the product ever actually arrive?
And if it does arrive, is it going to dissolve in the washing machine?
Right. Because you don't have 5 years of Trustpilot reviews to rely on. You don't have that cultural safety net of knowing your friends have ordered from them before.
So the default posture for you, the consumer, is suspicion. How do they bypass that? Because clearly they're bypassing it.
They do it by meticulously engineering what the brand analysts in our sources call a trustworthy green zone.
A trustworthy green zone. I like that.
Yeah, they construct this architecture of reliability that compensates for their lack of age.
So the UK company registration is the baseline, right? That proves they physically exist in the legal world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But beyond that, they operate with this aggressive consistency in their visual branding. They really highlight that they're a small, dedicated team.
Oh, I see. So it pivots the narrative from risky unknown corporation to passionate independent startup.
Precisely. And they heavily leverage visible, independent proof of quality through curated customer interactions.
So they're fast-tracking the trust-building phase by mimicking the digital body language of a brand that's been around forever.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Which brings us to the actual identity they're projecting, once you trust them enough to look.
So let's talk about the name.
Yeah, Vivir. It translates from Spanish to live. And the messaging around it is just textbook digital native branding.
Very emotive.
Extremely. They use these sweeping slogans like live boldly, be authentic, wear your story.
Right.
But I look at that and I have to push back a little bit. Does any of this actually tell me about the clothing?
Not at all.
Right. It feels like they're selling a vibe, and the hoodie just happens to be the souvenir you get for buy into the vibe.
That is a crucial distinction, and the documentation we have absolutely confirms your suspicion there. The strategy is unequivocally branding first, product second.
Emotional branding.
Exactly. It's emotional branding, not technical apparel marketing. I mean, if you look at an outdoor brand like, say, Patagonia.
Oh, yeah, they're all about the technical specs.
Right. Their marketing centers on the technical reality of the garment, the thread count, the recycled sourcing of the fleece, the waterproof rating.
But Vivir operates on the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Strictly on the perceived lifestyle. They are selling individuality and self-expression. The garment is merely the vessel for that emotion.
Okay, but selling an emotion only gets you so far if the checkout screen breaks the illusion, right?
Definitely.
If we look at their catalog, the pricing structure is doing some really heavy psychological lifting to maintain that vibe.
No, the pricing is fascinating.
In the UK, their hoodies sit around £35, long sleeves are about £30, and then you have these tees that are heavily discounted from £45 down to $15. Right. And you see this mirrored and amplified on their international site with USD pricing. Like the La Sombra zip-up is marked down from $56 to $49.
A modest drop.
Yeah, and the Sierra Blanca long sleeve is $42. But the most aggressive examples, and this is wild, are the Vivir Rose t-shirt, slashed from $63 down to $21.
Wow.
And the Rose shorts marked down from $91 to just $28.
So the psychology of those specific price points is just a masterly application of anchor pricing within what analysts call the Instagram streetwear tier.
Anchor pricing. Explain that for a second.
Well, when you as a consumer see a pair of shorts marked down from 91 to 28, your brain does a very specific calculation.
Right.
The question we really have to ask, based on the sources, is, are they genuinely trying to liquidate old warehouse stock? Or is that $91 original price entirely artificial?
I mean, let's be real. Given they were founded in late 2025, they can't possibly have that much old stock to clear out, right?
Yeah.
That 91 has to be a ghost number. It's an anchor designed specifically to be slashed.
Precisely. It alters the perceived intrinsic value of the garment.
Because if Vivir just launched and listed those shorts at $28,
then the consumer's internal threat assessment triggers again. You'd think $28 is incredibly cheap for boutique streetwear. The fabric must be terrible.
right, it's going to fall apart. But by anchoring that initial value at 91, they establish a premium narrative.
Yeah, so when they cross that number out and offer it at 28, you don't feel like you're buying a cheap product.
You feel that dopamine hit.
Exactly. You feel the thrill of securing a premium, high-quality asset at this fleeting discount.
It's the thrill of the heist. You're like, I'm getting away with something here. I have to lock this in before they realize their mistake.
And our source analysis specifically notes that nothing about their manufacturing or pricing model actually suggests premium luxury house construction.
So the numbers are just calibrated to sit perfectly in that highly accessible impulse buy tier.
Right. It's expensive enough to feel legitimate, but cheap enough to bypass deep financial scrutiny.
Okay, so we have the foundation here. We have a legally registered, literally months-old company that uses emotional lifestyle messaging and aggressive anchor pricing to drive impulse buys.
Right.
But if you have zero legacy, how do you actually get eyeballs on those $28 shorts? How do you simulate the gravity of a massive brand?
This is where the core engine of their growth really comes in.
And it revolves around a single specific Instagram feature.
It is the apparatus that makes the entire illusion function.
Yeah, because the focal point of Viri's marketing isn't, a billboard in Times Square.
No, not at all.
It's their Instagram story highlights, specifically the highlight labeled collaboration.
The collaboration highlight.
Yeah, if you go to their profile, it's just sitting right there, permanently saved. You click on it, and you're immediately hit with this rapid-fire sequence of content.
And we really need to dissect exactly what lives inside that sequence, because it is meticulously curated.
Let's dig into it. What are we looking at?
Well, according to the breakdown, we're looking at 3 distinct layers of content within this highlight.
Okay.
The first layer is reposted athlete stories. So these are raw clips or mirror selfies of people who are clearly identifiable as footballers wearing Vivir hoodies or tees and just casually tagging the brand's handle.
Literally just normal guys checking their fits before they leave the house.
Exactly. Then the second layer introduces a slightly higher production value.
Like what?
Match clips, training footage, locker room atmospheres. But what is noticeably absent from the second layer is any form of brand overlay.
Interesting. So no Vivir Autumn Collection graphics or anything.
None. It's just raw football culture.
Okay. And the third layer?
The third layer consists of pure name drops. They tag specific high-status individuals repeatedly, but they offer absolutely zero context or explanation regarding what the actual relationship is between the brand and the tagged individual.
Wow. So if I'm just tapping through this highlight, I'm absorbing this chaotic, high-energy montage of athletes, locker rooms, training pitches, and tags.
Right, and it feels massive.
It does. But wait, if there's no campaign messaging and no graphics, how does the clothing actually get onto these players? Like, are they signing contracts?
No, and this is the absolute brilliance of the seeding and repost loop.
The seeding and repost loop.
Yeah, there are no formal multi-million-dollar endorsement contracts happening here. The mechanics are entirely grassroots.
Okay.
Vivir seeds, which is just the industry term for gifting their clothing to these specific players.
So they just mail it to them.
Right? The player receives a free hoodie. The player likes the hoodie, puts it on, and takes a raw, unpolished mirror selfie for their own Instagram story.
Just naturally.
Naturally. That piece of media is user-generated content, or UGC. Vivir then takes that UGC, reposts it to their own brand story, and permanently archives it in that collaboration highlight.
I really want to stop on that word for a second. Collaboration.
It's a loaded word.
It really is. Because when I hear that word in the context of fashion, I think of like Nike X Off-White.
Right. You think of lawyers, creative directors, boardrooms.
Revenue sharing agreements. But you're telling me Vivir is using the word collaboration to describe a guy taking a selfie in a hoodie he got in the mail for free?
That's exactly it. They are aggressively blurring the linguistic boundaries of the word.
That's bold.
Very. By stacking dozens of these informal reposts under that specific heavyweight label, Vivir is stretching the concept of a collaboration to its absolute breaking point.
Wow.
Because in reality, these are micro-endorsements. They are informal, non-binding gifts.
But the viewer tapping through the stories doesn't see the lack of a contract.
And that is the crux of the illusion.
It's just a guy in a shirt.
Right. But the highlight provides undeniable visual proof that a connection to elite football circles exists. Real players are physically wearing the garments.
But the viewer's brain is forced to fill in the contextual gaps.
Yes, and human psychology naturally gravitates toward patterns of authority.
So your brain basically upgrades the reality of a footballer is wearing this free shirt to the illusion of this brand has an official contracted partnership with this athlete.
Exactly. The consumer synthesizes this massive formal network that just doesn't actually exist on paper.
That completely bypasses the traditional friction of advertising.
Completely.
You don't need to hire a creative agency, you don't need a lighting crew, you don't need a studio. You just ship a 35-pound hoodie, the athlete films it on their phone, and you instantly have marketing material that feels incredibly authentic.
And it feels authentic because it lacks polish.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. Modern consumers, particularly Gen Z, have highly calibrated defense mechanisms against traditional advertising.
Oh, yeah. If I see a sponsored post, I just scroll right past it.
Right. If they see a heavily produced, glossy video with perfect lighting and a brand logo in the corner, their guard immediately goes up. They know they're the target of a transaction.
But when they see a raw, slightly grainy iPhone video of a player they admire just hanging out in a hoodie,
It bypasses that defense mechanism entirely. It reads as a genuine lifestyle recommendation, not a commercial.
it's the informality that builds the trust.
Exactly.
But that requires picking the exact right people to seed the clothes to, right? Like, if I take a mirror selfie in a Vivir hoodie, nobody cares.
All right, but yeah, nobody cares.
Exactly. And they aren't seeding this to random lifestyle vloggers or tech reviewers. The sources are very clear that Vivir is surgically targeting the UK football world.
Yes.
Why is that specific subculture so vital to this strategy?
Well, to understand that, we have to look at the broader cultural economy of the UK. In that landscape, football is the ultimate currency.
Okay.
Footballers project this highly specific, highly coveted blend of attributes: authority, Physical discipline, traditional masculinity, and just massive lifestyle status.
And it's not just the global superstars, right?
Not at all. Even lower-tier professionals or youth academy players
Yeah.
carry this aura of athlete credibility. In the fashion world, if you put an unknown model in a hoodie, they're just a mannequin. But if you put an academy footballer in that same hoodie, the garment suddenly absorbs all the potential, the status, and the cultural relevance of the sport itself.
It's a total halo effect.
Exactly.
The clout of the pitch transfers directly into the threading of the cotton.
That's a great way to put it.
And our source material provides two fascinating, highly specific case studies of the exact types of athletes Vivir has woven into this perceived roster. Let's look at the first one.
Let's do it.
Because I went deep into his Wikipedia background, and his trajectory is just wild. His name is Chisarm Izinwada, but he usually goes by Chizzy.
Right, and his profile is really the quintessential archetype for this kind of brand building.
Absolutely. So get this. Chisarm Nathan Roland Izinwada was born on September 5th, 2008.
2008, which is wild to think about.
I know, it makes you feel old. He was born in London. His mother is Cameroonian, his father is Nigerian, and physically he already stands out. He's a 6'2" forward.
A physical powerhouse already?
Yeah, and his career path, even at his age, is elite. He spent his preteen years training at the Tottenham Hotspur Academy, moved to Charlton Athletic for 2 years, and then in 2023, he made this massive jump to join the Youth Academy of Chelsea.
Right, and making a jump to a club of Chelsea's magnitude that instantly validates his potential in the eyes of the public.
He wears number 73 there. And it's not just club football either. His international resume totally backs it up.
Right, he plays for England Youth.
Yeah, he's an England Youth International. In November 2025, he traveled to the FIFA U17 World Cup with the England squad. He literally scored a hat-trick in an 8-1 demolition of Haiti in the group stages.
Incredible.
He started in their 2-0 win over South Korea, and he was on the bench when they were eventually knocked out by Austria.
So he's deeply embedded in that elite pipeline.
Completely. The Athletic actually wrote a profile on him in 2025, and they described him as a stocky, muscular striker who uses his body well to hold off defenders.
Right.
So we aren't talking about a kid who just plays casually on the weekends. He is a highly scouted, physically dominant, elite prospect.
And you really have to consider the specific cultural weight an elite academy prospect carries in London.
Oh, it's huge.
Having Izinwada in that collaboration highlight is a strategic goldmine for Vivir.
Because of what he represents.
Exactly. He represents the vanguard of the next generation. When a young consumer sees a Chelsea prospect who scores hat-tricks for England wearing Vivir, the brand absorbs his momentum.
Oh, wow.
They aren't just borrowing his current status. They're borrowing his potential.
And crucially, like we said, he was born in 2008.
Right.
He is the exact demographic Vivir is trying to sell to. He speaks the language of Gen Z natively because he is Gen Z.
Precisely.
Now, you take Chizzy's youthful rising star momentum and you contrast it with the second case study the brand documents highlighted, Junai Byfield.
Right, Byfield. He provides the necessary counterbalance to Izinwada within this simulated roster.
Because Byfield isn't an academy prospect.
No, he's not.
The documentation lists Junai Byfield as a key associate of the brand and a professional footballer for Tottenham Hotspur. And it explicitly notes that he has registered appearances for the first team in the Premier League.
And this is where the true architecture of the illusion reveals itself.
How so?
Look at what Vivir has synthesized here. You have Izinwada, the elite youth prospect representing the future, the hype, and the academy hustle at Chelsea.
Right.
And right next to him, you have Byfield, the established professional making appearances at the highest level of English football for Tottenham.
Wow, okay.
By placing them side by side in the same Instagram highlight, Vivir creates the illusion of comprehensive market penetration.
It's like looking at a massive sports agency's client list.
Exactly.
You tap through and you think, wow, this brand has the top draft pick and the veteran superstar. They must be everywhere. It suggests this multi-tiered, deeply embedded network across the biggest clubs in London.
And we have to continually remind ourselves of the reality here.
That none of it is paid.
Right. They are achieving the perceptual impact of a massive sports marketing agency without the financial expenditure.
Which is just staggering.
They're extracting maximum cultural authority and maximizing their reach while keeping their operational risk and capital outlay at near zero.
No negotiations, no lawyers, no broadcast rights.
None. Just the strategic deployment of hoodies and the viewer's willingness to believe the narrative.
It is remarkably efficient, but when you lay it out like that, it sounds like a very clever, somewhat simple social media hack. Like, just send clothes to cool people.
On the surface, sure.
But the analysts in our source material insisted that we look deeper. They pointed out that this strategy actually perfectly mirrors some incredibly dense, high-level sociological concepts.
It does.
And I think to truly appreciate the genius of what Vivir is doing, we need to understand the academic theory behind why our brains accept this illusion so readily.
I agree. This is a vital pivot. We've established what they're doing mechanically. Now we need to explore the underlying sociological laws that make it so devastatingly effective.
So I was trying to wrap my head around the first concept the documents mentioned. It's Pierre Bourdieu's theory of social capital.
Yes.
And I came up with an analogy. Tell me if this tracks.
Let's hear it.
Imagine there is an ultra-exclusive VIP nightclub in the center of the city. You want to get in, and you want everyone inside to think you are important.
Okay.
Now, the traditional way to do that is to spend in $10,000 to buy a VIP table. That's using financial capital.
Right, which would be the equivalent of a brand buying a massive billboard or signing $1 million endorsement deal.
Exactly. But you don't have $10,000, so instead you wait outside the club until the most famous celebrity in the city walks up to the velvet rope.
Okay, I see where this is going.
You step right in next to them, you strike up a conversation, you laugh at a joke they make, and you walk through the doors right beside them, acting like you belong together. You didn't pay for the table. You just borrowed the celebrity status for the 10 seconds it took to walk past the bouncer. To everyone inside the club, you are now associated with that celebrity.
That is a phenomenal, highly accurate, mechanical translation of Bourdieu's work.
Really? Awesome.
Yeah. Pierre Bourdieu was a French sociologist who argued that society doesn't just run on money. He categorized capital into different forms: economic, cultural, and social.
So social capital is?
Social capital is the sum of the resources, the networks, the relationships, and the status you have access to. In your analogy, you utilize social capital to bypass the need for economic capital.
So Vivir is the guy walking past the bouncer.
Precisely. As a startup incorporated mere months ago, Vivir's economic capital is naturally limited. They cannot outspend Nike or Adidas.
Right.
But by associating themselves with high-status football identities like Byfield and Wada, they're manufacturing social capital out of thin air.
Just by standing next to them digitally.
Exactly. They are borrowing the authority of these athletes rather than purchasing it. In the digital economy, social capital can be immediately converted into brand trust, which then converts into revenue.
Borrowing authority instead of buying it. That makes complete sense.
It's very effective.
But the analysis goes even further, and this next concept is the one that really broke my brain. The brand documents referenced another French theorist, Jean Baudrillard.
Ah, yes, Baudrillard. If you want to understand the modern internet, you have to understand Baudrillard.
Really?
Absolutely. His seminal work is the theory of simulacra and simulation.
Okay, I need you to walk me through this carefully. What exactly is a simulacrum, and how on earth does a philosophy from the 1980s apply to an Instagram clothing brand?
Well, to put it in the context of media, Baudrillard proposed that as society becomes more saturated with information and images, the representations of reality eventually become detached from the reality they were supposed to represent.
That's pretty dense. Give me an example.
Think of a map. A map is a representation of a territory, right?
Right.
But Baudrillard argued that eventually the map becomes so detailed, so ubiquitous, and so important to our daily lives that we care more about the map than the actual ground we are walking on.
Oh, wow. The map replaces the territory.
Exactly. A simulacrum is a copy without an original. It's a representation that feels intensely real, but is entirely devoid of underlying substance.
Okay.
Baudrillard called this the hyperreal, a condition where what is real and what is fiction are seamlessly blended together, so there is no clear distinction.
Okay, so applying this to Vivir, the Instagram page is the map.
The collaboration highlight is the ultimate simulacrum.
The highlight itself.
Yes. The highlight constructs a hyperreal image of a globally dominant, officially partnered streetwear brand. When a consumer taps through those stories, that digital image becomes their reality of the brand.
Because it's all they see.
Right. The simulation is so convincing and so culturally potent that it completely overwrites the physical truth.
And the physical truth, as we've discussed, is just a collection of informal reposts from a tiny company in Kent. Wait, if the Instagram highlight is the actual reality of the brand in the consumer's mind, then what is the physical hoodie? Like, is the hoodie just merchandise for the Instagram page?
That is exactly the dynamic. You aren't buying the hoodie because of its physical properties. You are buying the physical hoodie so that you can participate in the simulation.
Oh my God.
The image of popularity generates actual popularity. It is a closed loop of manufactured reality. The brand exists primarily as a digital construct. The clothing is secondary.
That is legitimately staggering to think about. The representation replaces the real thing.
It's powerful stuff.
Okay, so we've mapped out the birth of the company, the psychology of their anchor pricing, how they farm social capital from elite footballers, and the deep sociological theories that make the illusion hold together.
Right.
But theory doesn't pay the server costs. How do they take all this hyper-real social capital and force the consumer to actually pull out their credit card?
And now we're getting into conversion.
Exactly. This brings us to their recent digital launch strategy, and specifically, the mechanics of dropped culture.
This is the monetization phase. This is where the simulation meets the economy.
Looking at the timeline in our sources, Vivir executed a major digital launch event on August 29th. And they didn't just say, hey, we updated our website.
No,
They dubbed the launch the Starry site.
the nomenclature there is vital. Look at how they spatialize the digital experience.
Right, by capitalizing it and giving it a specific title, the Starry site, it doesn't sound like a URL where you go to buy a t-shirt.
Exactly. They are consciously rejecting the utility of a traditional online storefront.
What do you mean by utility?
Like, you don't just go there to restock on socks.
Huh.
When you name a digital space like that, you are attempting to transform it into a branded universe. It becomes a destination.
Okay, I see.
In modern digital retail, particularly within high-end streetwear, the goal is to make the consumer feel like they are stepping into an exclusive environment, a world, rather than just scrolling down a catalog. It adds mystique and elevates the perceived value of the items inside it.
It frames the act of shopping as an event.
Completely.
And it was treated as an event because they utilized drop culture to facilitate the launch. They built this whole campaign around the specific date. New website dropping August 29th.
Drop culture is the absolute lifeblood of Gen Z fashion commerce.
It's everywhere now.
It is, and it's a complete inversion of traditional retail. Traditional retail operates on convenience. The store's always open. The shelves are always stocked. You buy when you feel like it.
Sure.
Drop culture operates on engineered scarcity. By creating a fixed, immovable moment in time, August 29th, Vivir forces anticipation. They borrow the hype cycle mechanics pioneered by brands like Supreme.
So you build the hype first and you sell second.
Precisely. The scarcity of the time window creates massive urgency. If you aren't on the site the minute it drops, you risk missing out on the simulation entirely.
Oh, FOMO.
The fear of missing out completely overrides the financial hesitation of the consumer.
If I don't buy this $28 pair of shorts right now, I might never get them and I'll be left out of the cultural moment.
Exactly.
But as I was reading through the marketing materials for this drop, I hit a paradox that I really need you to explain.
Okay, what is it?
The slogan Vivir used in the caption to promote this highly anticipated drop was, "Don't keep it exclusive."
Ah, yes.
Now, wait a minute. Isn't the entire engine of drop culture built on exclusivity?
It is.
If your whole brand identity relies on being a scarce, highly coveted insider secret, why are you explicitly telling your followers to share the link with everyone they know?
It seems contradictory on the surface, but it's actually one of the most brilliant psychological maneuvers in their entire playbook.
Really? How so?
We have to break down what the phrase, "don't keep it exclusive," actually communicates to the person reading it.
Okay, walk me through it.
First, by deploying the word exclusive, the brand is flattering the consumer.
Yeah.
It validates them.
Oh, because it implies they're already on the inside.
Exactly. It implies that the consumer is already holding early access or insider knowledge. It confirms their status as part of the VIP club.
So it strokes their ego right off the bat. You found us. You are in the know.
Exactly. But then, by urging them not to keep it a secret, the brand engineers a self-replicating viral loop.
How does that work?
The subtext of the message is, you have acquired social capital by finding this drop. Now, don't hoard that status symbol. Distribute it among your peers.
Oh, wow.
It transforms exclusivity from a solitary, isolating experience into a communal participation event.
Okay, so the consumer feels incredibly cool for knowing about the drop, and then they gain even more social capital within their own friend group by being the person who invites everyone else to the party.
Yes, they are baking the mechanics of viral marketing directly into the emotional appeal of the caption.
That's incredibly smart.
The brand isn't asking the consumer to do marketing labor. The brand is offering the consumer a tool to increase their own social standing among their friends.
And the byproduct, of course, is massive organic reach for Vivir.
Exactly.
It's essentially saying, this VIP club is incredibly hard to get into, but because we like you, here are 5 backstage passes, hand them out to your friends.
Yep.
You feel powerful, your friends feel grateful to you, and Vivir gets 5 brand new customers for absolutely 0 acquisition cost.
It's flawless.
That perfectly encapsulates the entire operational philosophy we've been talking about.
It is the ultimate synthesis of all the concepts we've explored today, leveraging the perception of status to generate organic, hyper-efficient growth.
Let's zoom out and look at the totality of what we've unpacked here, because the journey of this brand is just wild.
It really is an incredible case study.
We started with the unvarnished reality, Vivir Clothing Ltd., a company incorporated in Kent by Maxwell Fried in September 2025, a brand that, chronologically speaking, has barely taken its first steps.
A brand born into a landscape where history is no longer a prerequisite for legitimacy.
Because they completely circumvented the need for history. They deployed this incredibly potent seeding and repost loop. They tapped into the massive cultural currency of the UK football scene, targeting specific pillars of that community, the rising elite potential of an academy prospect like Chisarm Ezenwada,
Right.
and the established professional gravity of a player like Junai Byfield.
They took the raw, unpolished authenticity of user-generated content and weaponized it to manufacture credibility.
Stacking those informal mirror selfies into a single collaboration highlight to construct the towering illusion of a massive, official, high-level brand roster.
Yes.
And they did it all by acting out the theories of Pierre Bourdieu and Jean Baudrillard, borrowing social capital instead of buying it, and allowing the digital simulation of their brand to completely overwrite the physical reality of their actual size.
And finally, monetizing that hyperreal image through the psychological urgency of drop culture.
Right, utilizing the Starry site to create a spatial digital event.
And deploying paradoxical messaging like "don't keep it exclusive" to force their community to market the brand for them.
It is a masterclass in modern brand architecture. But as we wrap up, what is the ultimate takeaway here?
Like morally.
Yeah. Are we looking at a company that is tricking people?
It is absolutely crucial to clarify that Vivir is not doing anything illegal, nor are they engaged in explicit deceit.
Right.
They are a registered company. The garments physically exist. The athletes in the videos are real people who really did put the clothes on.
They aren't lying about any of that.
Exactly. Vivir is simply executing perception-focused brand building flawlessly. They possess a profound understanding of consumer psychology, and as a result, they have successfully projected a shadow that is vastly larger than the object casting it.
They're playing the game exactly as the rules of the modern internet dictate.
Without a doubt.
Which leads me to a final thought I want to leave you with today. I want you to think back to Jean Baudrillard and the concept of the simulacra.
The map and the territory.
Exactly. The idea that the map replaces the territory, that the image of a thing replaces the real thing. I want you to look around and consider what happens to our economy and to our culture as a whole when the perception of a brand's popularity entirely replaces the actual substance of the company.
It represents a fundamental shift in where human beings assign value.
It really does. If a brand only truly exists in your mind as a reflection of the high-status athletes who wear it in a fleeting 24-hour Instagram story, does the physical quality of the clothing even matter anymore?
A great question.
Or are we all just paying 35 pounds to buy and wear a shared Instagram highlight?
Wow.
It brings us right back to The Illusionist. The magic trick isn't that they hid the truth from you in the dark. The trick is that they put the illusion right in front of your face, under the brightest lights possible, and you decided that you liked the illusion much better than reality.
A powerful and necessary question to ask ourselves every time we open our feeds.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking closely at the digital world around you. Keep questioning the mechanics of what you see on your screen, and we will catch you next time.